we can hear you
Oh,
now.
well, technical difficulties aside, I think we can go ahead and get started. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate your patience. All right, yeah, so like I said, we'll talk about the conservation mini grant first off. This is actually our 10th year for the mini grant. So this award is, like I said, it's run by us. It is up to $2,000, 3 organizations in Franklin County. And we're looking at on-the-ground conservation projects. Most of the funding we want to go towards materials that are going to be permanent in the ground. It is awarded on a reimbursement basis. That means that the awardee will end up spending money themselves, and then at the end, submit all their receipts to us, and we'll reimburse them via award amount. Over the 10 years, we've had nearly 35 different organizations in the county get awards. The funding for the award comes from our conservation fund. So that's donations we receive, that's proceeds from our tree sale and other annual meeting events and that kind of stuff. And that's what's funding this organization or this grant program. And the projects must be completed by the end of this year. So who can apply? So this program is for 501c nonprofit groups, schools, watershed groups, municipalities, other community groups and that sort of thing. If a group is eligible, a group doesn't have a 501c status, they can work with another group, come to an agreement, and that other group can serve as the fiscal sponsor for the other group to apply. And the projects, like I said, must be located in Franklin County. So like if your organization is outside of the county, but the work itself is going to occur in the county, that's totally fine with us. So example projects, I have a bunch of them listed up here. It's a pretty wide scope of what you can do with the conservation mini grant. Some of the programs will have some overlap tonight, kind of what we're doing, but the whole goal is to get more conservation practices in the ground across the county. So rainwater harvesting, green infrastructure, habitat improvement, all those kind of things can qualify. The award criteria. So we have 5 criteria that we're looking at. The 5 are the environmental impact. How is this reducing, stormwater? How is it reducing sediment? Is it, having an impact on the environment? Connection to our mission statement. Visibility, is this a trafficked area? Is this in a park? Is this someplace that people can interact with it and get to see it? We want to get that kind of education outreach component built into these projects as well. Cost efficiency, we like to stretch our dollars as far as they can go with conservation. And then underserved community. So there's a lot of different criteria for underserved communities. There's the environmental justice screening. There is tree canopy stuff. There's all sorts of different categories. Columbus Celebrate One neighborhoods, a lot of different categories for what qualifies as an underserved community. We do weight that score just 20% higher when we do go to score. And the scoring, just real quick, the scoring is actually done entirely in-house by Franklin Soil and Water's conservation implementation team for that one. So some potential pitfalls with this is that we can't pay an individual. We have to make payments to organizations directly. That's, to simplify that, some of that stuff, that's why there's that 501c status. We have to be able to pay an official entity for our auditing and the ORC stuff. Making sure that there's proper coordination. A lot of groups, they have a lot of moving parts. It can be hard to track all the projects. So making sure that those items of who's going to be paying for what and how that reimbursement is going to occur needs to be really spelled out and double checked beforehand. We'll take a look at the application. It has some of that information in it too. If a property you're going to be doing the work on is not owned by the organization, make sure that there is some sort of official agreement in place just to cover off any issues or ensure that there's no misunderstandings about future maintenance or those kind of things for these projects. And then we do only reimburse for certain things. Like I mentioned, we're trying to really target the on-the-ground materials, maybe some educational signage. that kind of thing. A lot of stuff is not reimbursable. So sales tax, native plants or non-native plants rather, salary, labor, pass-through costs, that kind of stuff. Our website has the full list of kind of what is an eligible purchase and what isn't. So make sure you check that out. Let's go ahead and, Tori, if you would, switch the window. I have the application pulled up on there. And we can look at the application, what it looks like, and walk through it real quick. I think it's pulled up on the Chrome window.
Oh, that's the Chewy assistant.
Yeah,
right?
it's, maybe, yeah, it's on the second one. So there you go. Maybe drag that onto that upper screen.
This?
Oh, the window is also right. Move that thing down. Move the bar down. And then move it down. I think what's it like?
It's already
Oh,
shared.
it's sharing on screen. Oh, okay, well, regardless, if it's sharing on that screen, that's perfect. Okay.
But it's not showing.
See if we can. Go ahead and close the power. Oh, let's switch it back over to, yes, move that right tab. Yeah. Like I said, hybrid meetings, think I have a handle on them. Oh, let's see, how do we get that to? Yeah, it's on there.
Is it a projection thing?
Maybe? There we go. So now it's the same. So go ahead and just pull up that Chrome window again. There we go. Okay. So this is our 2024 application. We did make some changes to it from last year if you applied for one last year. But let's just scroll down and kind of look at all the different questions we have here. Applicant contact name, phone number, all that stuff, organization. That's all pretty straightforward. Website if you have it. And then this first question is kind of, are you one of the qualifying organizations? That's just that check to make sure you are. If you're not, we ask you to check in your status or work with a entity that is qualifying and you can get that fiscal sponsorship. We do ask you to upload a W-9 for your organization just to verify the status for our financial team. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit. So again, making sure that the person applying is informed their organization and is aware that they're going to apply for this grant. And then we do have this question about where if you own the property, where the project will be installed. So if you say yes, we ask you to provide the property owner information so we can verify it. If not, if you click no for me, sorry. We ask you to provide the info, but then we also ask for this letter. That's an acknowledgement / permission from the property owner. We ask you to get a letter that basically says, these 5 bullet points, that the owner's aware, they give you permission to do the project if you've been awarded. They understand the requirements of the grant and then installation and maintenance, as well as the contact information of the owner and then their signature. We just want to make sure that there's no, issues later on if there's, a miscommunication. If you get it in writing and that way it kind of hammers some of that stuff out for you. Again, asking about, you understand that we can only reimburse organizations. And then we get into the section that talks about the project itself. So, what it is called, where it's going to be, and then that basic description of what you're doing, how much funding you're requesting. And then we do have this kind of open-ended section regarding the underserved area. We list a few examples, but we give you a spot for if you have some other criteria that you want to input there. There's our mission statement describing how the project relates to it. Then we have another section here asking how the funds will be allocated. And then that's the application for that. So is there any questions on that? Anything anyone wants to clarify for that one? If you don't think of anything right now, but want to talk to us later, we'll be available to to chat with you by email or call later on as the application goes on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said that you were going to, give out $2,000 3 times.
Yes, so it's $6,000 total, 2,000 to 3 different organizations.
So what if, some, like 2 different people request 1,000 each?
Yeah, so
Is it a total of 6,000?
it's more so a total of 6,000. So if we end up getting the varying values, and the way the scores end up, we have in the past awarded 4 or 5 organizations with, that total amount coming to 6,000. Generally it is 3 $2,000 awards, but we have in the past had like 2 $2,000 awards and then 2 $1,000
But you don't decide, say somebody asks for 2,000 and you're like, well, we can give you 1,000.
No, it's the award
So-
total, yep, for the
So
project.
you're better off to ask for the full amount.
Yeah, that and also we like that because it means it's more going in the ground at one location. We understand that some of these smaller projects are nicer, but this mini grant, it's kind of right in the middle between some of the smaller funding opportunities that might be available through, Columbus Wildlands chapter, and it's a little bit less than some of the bigger EPA type funding opportunities. So we try to get that sort of stuff to kind of be in the middle and then kind of spend as much as we can. Okay, so let's go ahead and I don't know how many more slides we have with this portion. Go ahead and press if you don't mind, Tori. Maybe.
Sorry, what do you want?
If you want to go ahead in the next slide, please, sorry.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get it to match up.
Oh, is it being weird again?
And then.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. We got screen shares and multiple windows and managing chat and all that stuff, so I appreciate your patience. This is just a point that's I'm gonna echo a few times this evening. Organizations can apply for multiple programs, the Tree Assistance Program, mini grant, Columbus Business Rebates, but they have to be for different projects. We'll only award one of our award programs to each project. So if, for example, you have a tree planting project and a rain garden, you can apply for those 2 different programs and it's possible you'll get awarded for both of them, but you can't, have a tree planting project that you're applying for the tree assistance program and the mini grant. Or we only want to have one of those per project. And I think that, yeah, we can go ahead and talk about any questions that are in the chat or any questions here in the office. But that's kind of the overview of the mini grant program. That might have been a little fast. That's kind of our most well-traveled program. Like I said, it's been 10 years we've been doing this one. So let me know if there was anything that you want a clarification on.
Chat.
Yeah.
Dawn says the slides mention 3 group winners. The website says 5 group winners. How many groups will be awarded the mini grants, or is the mini grant distinct? From the Columbus Tree Assistance Program?
Yeah, no, good question, Don. So yeah, they are distinct programs. So we'll talk about the Tree Assistance Program a little bit later this evening, but the mini grant is 3 awards of 2,000 up to $6,000 total spent, given out. The Tree Assistance Program is up to 5 $2,000 awards or $10,000 on that one. So they are distinct programs.
And someone asked in the chat that if there's a question in the room, can you repeat it?
Yeah, certainly. I apologize if I didn't catch that earlier. I think you had asked about whether or not we'd split up some of those funds and award, lesser values than the 2,000, and we do that in the past. So that's, I think, the one question we had in the room. Yeah.
Can you talk about what kind of check-ins you do along the way?
Yeah, certainly. So as part of the process with so sorry. The question is, what are the check-ins that we'll do along the way? Once, for an awardee, it'll be at least monthly. Oftentimes it's more than that. And, we're trying to help, get feedback and work with the awardees throughout the process. Like I said, it's about monthly at the very least. Just the way we can, if there's purchases coming up they're going to be making or questions they have about, where can I get the best for this or that, we can help them out. At the end of the project, once the reimbursement paperwork is submitted, once all the receipts are submitted, we'll come out to the site with you and do a check, but and get some photographs and that sort of thing. But well, that's about once a month, and then that final visit at the end.
We got another chat question. When is the deadline?
Yes, when is the deadline? So the mini grant program, and I apologize if I missed that in the slide there. The mini grant program is open from Feb 1 to Feb 29. So that'll be this entire month. The application window will be open.
And another question, can this grant be used for newly established community gardens who are a 501c3?
Yes, yep. So any 501c organization, I think that it's 1 through 4, I think is the way it works in the code. Any of those could apply. So depending on the scope of the project, if you're a 501c3 and your project fits in, you'd be eligible to apply. If you have a specific question about if you want to know if your project would specifically count, you could feel free to email me. My cell and stuff is on the screen as well, so we could talk about it a little bit more. All right, well, cool. So yeah, so that was the conservation mini grant that is eligible to projects in the entire county. The next two projects or award programs we're gonna talk about are for City of Columbus specifically. So we can go ahead and move to that. I do want to give about 5 minutes because I want to see if any people jump on for this portion of the project or the presentation tonight. So if everyone's okay with that, we'll take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll resume here at 6:25. Hey, Lisa's question was regarding how the programs are different. So the conservation mini grant program, that's the one we just finished talking about. That is completely in-house, Franklin Soil and Water. It comes out of our funding. There is a lot of project overlap, right? So that program is for the entire county and it's managed by us in its entirety. The tree assistance program, which will be our third presentation tonight, that is for City of Columbus only, and that is a Columbus Recreation and Parks Department partnership program. So we'll talk a little bit more detail about it, but they gave us that funding specifically for private tree plantings in the City of Columbus. In theory, if you're out, like you could have a mini grant program that's applied for a tree planting as well. But there's also this Columbus tree assistance program specifically for private tree planting projects in the City of Columbus. So they're distinct in that they are managed by different groups, but they are similar in that we are the ones executing them, if that makes sense. And then what was the other question?
How many applications are you?
Yeah, mini grant kind of depends on the year. We're usually getting, I would say, 10 to 25 applications for the mini grant. Some years less, some years more. And did that answer Lisa's question?
Yes, and then are you going to send the slides out?
Yes, yeah. So we have a sign-in sheet that was going around in here. I think that there's on Zoom, I think it asks for your email maybe. If not, go ahead and please type your email in the chat and we can make sure you get the slides sent out. Thanks, good question, thank you. Question from in the room was that you can't get 2 consecutive awards for the mini grant in a row, 2 years in a row. And whether or not you should hold off on a project. That is a good question, Joey. I'll be honest, we don't often have the repeats in that, year on year kind of thing. I might have to think about that one a little bit more and talk with my supervisor and see what the best course of action would be if you're worried about getting a, longer kind of grant cycle type project in. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next section here, which is about the community backyards business rebates. This is a program that's run by Michaela Moore. Michaela is online with us tonight, I think, right? Hi, Michaela.
Yes, me and Josie are here tonight.
Josie, our tiny field technician. There's a great picture the other day. Michaela had her in the office and we put a little hard hat on her and big boots. It was very adorable. So
Yes.
I'll be running the slides, stuff like that, but Michaela will be on to answer questions at the end. So we can go ahead and get started. So yeah, the purpose of this is to promote and implement green infrastructure in the city of Columbus on land managed by businesses and organizations. So, the reimbursement for this program is up to $2,500 per project. It's a little bit different in scope than, say, the mini grant project or the tree assistance program. You have a couple eligible groups here. So rain gardens and bioswales, native plants and trees, rainwater collection, permeable pavers if you are replacing previous impervious surface, and other green infrastructure like stormwater retrofits, that kind of thing. So it's a little more narrowed in scope, and again targeting land owned by businesses and organizations in City of Columbus. Here's a project from this past year, the Maze Manor Wildflower Prairie and Rainwater Collection. This is a cool project. And I got out to the site early on. I didn't get to see the finished project, but it was a cool one from this past year. So with this project, again, it's a little bit different in scope, a little bit more narrowed for its requirements. So you do have to be a business or organization, like a nonprofit, et cetera, registered with the Ohio Secretary of State, and that's where we'll necessitate that W-9 form. The project's got to be located within the city of Columbus. So you can, if you have questions about that, sometimes the mailing address might not tell the whole story. You can ask us for assistance with that. It's a reimbursement basis, similar to a mini grant, wherein, we won't disperse any of the awards until the end of the project is completed. So the awardee will be the one to spend the money, submit all their paperwork and receipts, and complete the project, and then they get their funding back. And similar to the mini grant, it has the ineligible costs, so sales tax and those same sort of categories that we discussed with that program. Scoring criteria. So this project, as I said, it's a joint venture between City of Columbus and Soil and Water. Has 4 criteria similar to the other one, but environmental impact, visibility, cost efficiency, and again, that underserved community criteria. So this one is open from March 1 to March 31. So right now the mini grant's open. This one opens next month. Once you apply during that window, we'll be making some decisions and scoring them, and then notify everyone by mid-April. And then we'll do a site visit with you and get the award agreement and all that stuff going before the project starts. This one does have a little bit sooner window for completing the project, November 15th. So there's a lot of dates and stuff being thrown around. Check out our websites. That'll be the easiest way to see the breakdown and make sure that you're applying for the right one and you're hitting the right deadlines and that sort of thing. Again, just echoing that point I made earlier about you can apply for multiple projects, but only one award per project. And then this is another picture from one of the awardees from this past year, Friends of the Home Rain Garden. And yeah, that pretty much summarizes that. Michaela, how many awards do we have this year? Is it 10?
Yeah, we have 10 awards this year, up to $2,500 per award.
Yeah, so it's a little bit up higher from last year. And so we have 10, 20, up to $2,500 awards to be given out. Any questions in the room or on chat?
I have a question.
Yeah.
And you said, that the recipient has to be an organization. Does that mean that it has to be on the actual grounds or represented by an entity?
That's a good question. Michaela, did you hear that question?
Yes, I did. So if they're asking if the project has to be on the specific site of the organization or business. No, it does not. The project has to go through an organization or a business, and the project itself, where it's actually being implemented, has to be in City of Columbus. But it's fine if, say, the organization has a address that's technically outside of Columbus, as long as the project is impacting Columbus specifically.
That answer your question?
Yeah, it's, I assume that a church would qualify.
Yes. Yep.
And it's gonna be, actually, the project is, we've got several projects.
Yeah.
They're all in the Fifth by Northwest corridor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out
Yeah.
what grant's going to be most
Right.
appropriate for.
Right, yeah, yeah. And feel free to talk to us a little bit later on. We can help you sort out that sort of stuff. Joey?
What if we need to hire like a consultant or someone to help us, like, actually excavate? Because I know green infrastructure projects require like heavy machinery, so is that allowed to be paid for through this grant?
Michaela, I was gonna jump in here. I don't think it is covered, right? Like, the
Correct.
consulting pass-through fees are not covered by that.
Correct. Yeah. So this is going to be similar to the mini grants where it's going to cover the plants, the drainage hardware, signage up to a certain amount, that sort of thing, but it's not going to cover contractor fees. But say
Yes.
if you were to have a contractor do some work, we could pay for the actual hardware that they're installing, for example, or planting trees, but not the actual like contractor fees they're charging themselves.
Michaela, what about like if they get a contractor out there, obviously they're not gonna pay the labor of the contractor, but would we pay something like a mobilization fee or equipment rental?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think we could pay for, I think an equipment rental would count, because
Because that's
technically
similar to like
tools,
delivery.
yeah, tools are allowed, but we wouldn't be able to pay for like if they charge a delivery fee for it, for example.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the rental itself would be fine.
And then question from David Impact, are unincorporated areas like townships or Minerva Park eligible?
Unincorporated portions like Minerva Park eligible. I think that was in the chat, Michaela.
Okay, yeah, so this has to be within City of Columbus specifically. So if it's not within City of Columbus, they're not eligible for this one, but they would be eligible for a mini grant.
Yeah, and David, if they run that parcel ID, that often has the tax kind of numbers built into it, and we can help you verify that too.
Yeah.
All right. Is that pretty much that one? That was fast. Well, good. Then, well, we're tracking along a lot faster than I thought we would. So if there's no more questions right now, let me just take a quick break, see if there's some other, we had some other staff from Columbus and such that we're gonna try to join us. So let me check and see if they are on the way, and then we will dive in here in a few minutes. So I'll give you an update here in a second. Thanks, everybody. Okay, thanks for your patience, everybody. We can go ahead and move to our third and final presentation this evening on the Columbus Tree Assistance Program. I think we have Rosalie Hendon online from Columbus Rec and Park. She's been instrumental in helping get this program moving, and so we really appreciate her and her staff's time. And we're looking forward to getting this out. This is the first year for this program, so we're really excited for it. Yeah, the Columbus Tree Assistance Program. So this is the pilot year. It's the first year we are moving towards this one. It is going to be a competitive award, something like the other programs, up to $2,000 to carry out tree plantings on private property. We're going to be funding 5 projects for that, so a total of $10,000 awarded. This one is different from the other programs we talked to tonight because it is not reimbursement based. So this one, FSWCD will actually be the one that pays for the trees and materials for the awardee. We did this for a couple reasons. We're trying to target groups of landowners, of civic associations, HOAs, groups that may not traditionally have a lot of cash flow to purchase trees or get reimbursed. So we're hoping that this opens it up a little bit more to groups to be able to get more private tree canopy in the city of Columbus. Like I mentioned, it's funded by Columbus Recreation Parks Department, and it's a joint partnership with them, and they've been really instrumental in getting this program on the ground. Like I mentioned, the goal is to grow that private tree canopy in the city. We know that there's a huge benefit to tree canopy, a lot of different stuff like that. So we know that from the environmental to the social, that we really want to continue to grow this native tree canopy and help with our resilience and things like that. So who could apply? This one is a little more open-ended. Don't have to be that 501c3. Don't have to be that specifically registered organization. It can be a group of landowners, like an informal organization. It could be a business. It could be some other groups that we've mentioned before already that you do have the 501c, as long as the project is going to be in the city of Columbus and on private property. So we'll talk a little bit about the various application materials here. This is a little bit new and a little bit more nuanced, I think, than some of the programs we talked to this evening. But we'll have the online application similar to the other programs. We'll have a letter for the group status. So if you are an informal group, this is a way for you to kind of catalog who's in it and what your intent is. We have this participation and acknowledgement and authorization letter. That is for if you have multiple landowners that are going to be involved, you get permissions, and we have a form letter for that to help spell out the permissions and agreement. We also have a budget template and example for when you submit your application, as well as a planting plan example. And we also have a native tree species list that just has a few trees of different sizes to kind of get you thinking. Of course, we'll ask that you look at what's best for your site, and you can ask us questions and that sort of thing. But we just have a few examples that you look at. So let's see here, the online application. We'll visit this at the end because I know it's a little tricky to show the screen share of the application. We have an application that's similar to some of the ones you've looked at this evening. We'll circle back to this at the end. The group status letter, like I said, if you're not a group that has a W-9 or that kind of thing, this is a way for you to take this form letter, put together, your group's name, who is participating, who is the one that is applying on behalf of that organization, and what landowners are involved. We also have this, authorization, effective from the date of the letter to the end of the year, and that way your group can kind of work from that. Here's that participation authorization letter I mentioned. This will be for all the landowners that you have involved. If you're a one business owner, you won't necessarily have this because you'll be applying for yourself on your behalf. But if you're a group of landowners in a neighborhood, this will be something you use and want to get from each of the participating landowners. So there is explicit permission and acknowledgement of the project. So budget template. So this program is even more narrowed in scope about what we'll purchase. So we're really looking to purchase native trees, 5 to 15 gallons, and we have some resources about that. And we'll cover some maintenance and planting materials, mulch, that kind of thing. Tree delivery fees. And then if you have something really specific you want to request, we can look at that on a case by case basis. But we're really looking at stuff that is pretty much covering just the cost of the trees and the things to maintain and install them. So pretty limited in the scope of what we will pay for this project. And again, that total project cost is not to exceed 2,000, and it has a lot of the same ineligible expenses from the previous programs. And if you go to the next button, kind of shows, here's an example one I put together. If you were to put, here's 4 different species of native tree, there's a delivery fee cost, here's some mulch costs, and that's the total. So that's kind of an example of what a potential tree planting budget might look like. And here's a planting plan sketch. So, we have a lot of different guidance on how best to plant trees, where to plant them, how far away from utilities, that kind of thing. We have resources for the Ohio Underground or Utility Protection Service, OOPS, and they, the ones that come out and mark your utilities. We have a lot of that stuff on our website to help you put together the best planting plan you can. And this is just an example that shows, we want to see this in a planting plan. We want to see the distances from the structures. We want to see distance from utilities, and accounting for the tree's total mature size and that kind of thing, accounting for mature trees that are already there, and in making sure that the trees are going to be encompassed on this private property, not imposing on neighbors or causing a potential problem down the road. Here's that example tree species list. All this stuff is on our website. This is some species that we've put together that have different kind of moisture requirements, different sizes. We really want to see the biggest trees we can place at these sites because that gives the most benefit. The greatest longevity of these trees often is tied to how large they are. Like a flowering dogwood may not live as long as, a white oak and that kind of thing. The point of this is to really grow that private tree canopy, really, and get those benefits around the city and continue to grow it. So that's just an example list that we have on our website. You can go off this list if you want to. There's plenty of other native species. We do ask that the species be native. That is the one requirement for the species. And then we also, like I said, kind of limit the size of tree we want to purchase. We don't want to buy a lot of really large or difficult to install bald and burlap trees. We're looking at that 5 to 15 gallon containerized tree. It's probably 6 to 10 foot tall, 1 inch caliper kind of diameter of the tree. That's kind of the size we're looking at to fund for this project. All this again is on our website and kind of highlights the specifics a little bit more. Let's again talk about some award criteria. This one will be judged by Columbus Rec and Parks, Green Columbus's head, and our staff. And it's really similar to some of them, but we're looking at the efficacy of the planting plan, how well that's done, how well the roles are defined, that sort of stuff. How much is this going to have an impact on the canopy? Is it a property that might not have a lot of trees? Does the area not have a lot of trees? Those kind of things. And the community. We really want this to be, engaging the community. This is a great resource for not only the landowners, but there's huge benefits outside of that one property. And so we want to, see how this is tied to the community. Is there investment in the trees? Is there interest? Also, we want to make sure that these trees are thoughts given to how these trees will be maintained in the future. Is there the resources available to do that? Is there, interest in preserving these trees once they're planted? We want to protect that investment and continue to grow it. And again, that underserved community criteria is similar to what we talked about earlier. Here's a little bit more specific on the eligible expenses. And once again, reminding you that this one, if you're awarded, we will be the ones that pay for it. There's no need for you to pay for it and then get reimbursed. We work directly with the awarded groups to purchase those trees and those materials for them when they need them. We'll really work closely with the awardees for this. Again, purchasing native trees, 5 to 15 gallon, 4 to 6 foot tall. We also cover the delivery of those trees if needed. Maintenance or planning items, try to keep that to less than 20% of the total funding request. And then those other items. So really narrow scope, mostly going to trees, getting them in the ground. We're really trying to simplify it and empower landowners that don't necessarily have the ability purchase this kind of a number of trees to get them in the ground. So $2,000, 5 to 15 gallon trees, you're probably looking at somewhere between 10 to 15 trees, depending on what's available, what species you choose. So that's not a huge amount of trees, but it is a good amount of trees to get in the ground, and particularly at the size they'll be, that's a great way to grow the canopy quickly. Potential pitfalls. Well, this is a short list because this is the first year we're doing this one. So, it's a learning experience for us and all of our applicants. But, one thing we thought of is making sure that the residents that are going to participate really are on board. We want people to be enthusiastic. If you're going to be working with an informal group of landowners, we want people to be excited about this. And, we don't want to have to deal with the disgruntlement or issues with projects falling through if the participating landowners don't end up liking the project. So we really want to make sure that people are on board for this from the very beginning, so that everyone's enthusiastic throughout the entire process. And like I said, this is a really narrowed scope of what we will purchase for this award. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't count. Those three things we talked about in the last slide are the only things we'll be paying for this grant. Excuse me, not reimbursing. This one is applications are going to be accepted from February 1st to February 29th. So I apologize for the order of this. I should have maybe put the March program at the end, but the conservation mini grant open month of February, the application. The tree assistance program, open application for the month of February. And then the Columbus Business Rebate Program, that's going to be open for March. So mini grant and tree assistance program are open right now, and they'll close at the end of the month. Go to the next slide for me. Can't remember what's next. There's that point. Go to the next slide. Okay, let's take a quick look at the application. Give us a second here to get that sorted out and get the right Windows screen shared. We'll walk through the application, and then we'll start taking some questions. Okay, everyone can see that now in person and online, right? Awesome. Okay. So let's walk through this application similarly to what we did with the mini grant program. Like I mentioned, joint partnership between us and Columbus Recreation and Parks. Continue to go down. A lot of similar stuff here. Contact applicant contact info, organization type. Like I said, this one you don't have to be that specific 501c org. You can be an informal organization. You can be some of these ones that don't have it. You can be a business. You can be a nonprofit that does have the 501c. We just ask that you submit that, letter sort of outlining your status, so that we understand who we're working with. Here's the information about the applicant organization, and then here's that where I mentioned uploading that documentation. So if you are an organization or a business, you can upload a W-9 or a TIN. Sometimes, civic associations will have a letter of appointment, those kind of things. If you are an informal group, like a group of landowners or, that sort of thing, an HOA that doesn't have an official status, we ask that you submit that group status letter I showed earlier on. Again, the template for that is available on our website. Here's that everyone will have to fill this out, the participation letter that we mentioned. If you have, if you're working with other groups and stuff like that, we want to make sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to this. You know, when we're implementing, we want to make sure that all those I's are dotted and T's are crossed. That's that other template I mentioned on the website. Some questions about making sure that the applicant is you know, the one that's supposed to be applying. And again, a clarification about that, we will be spending money on behalf of the applicant organization as needed in conjunction with them. So the mini grant, we mentioned we work, you know, we check in with you monthly at the very least. This one will probably be a little more hands-on for us. We'll be more involved with the process, helping you find that planting window and working with you to schedule that and get the materials delivered and help you implement. Here's some information about the project, where it's going to be. Again, Columbus Tree Assistance Program projects have to be in the city. And if you have questions about that, again, reach out to us and we help you sort it. Description of the project, how it's going to impact the landowners and the community, project members and roles. We really want to help you put together a good planting plan that includes, you know, who's going to be in charge of what. Watering leader is going to be someone that's going to be helping the dig team, those kind of things. Putting together, you know, a group with the main project members, their roles, as well as any experience they have with plantings, you know, that'll help you identify what deficits you have. And, you know, even if you don't get awarded at the end of this, you still have a really good planting plan that you can put together. And like I mentioned, that planting plan schematic and stuff, you know, this is where we're talking about how specifically you're going to put that together, where they're going to be, the placement of them. And then if you know, kind of elaborating on that, including information on that utility marking, you know, you're probably going to be doing hand clearing for all this hand tool kind of stuff. It's really critical to make sure that you're accounting for those overhead utilities for tree growth, for those underground utilities that might run to a structure. And really, you know, making sure that that information is all taken care of. We have a bunch of resources on our website. Please check those out. That planning plan sketch, here's a place for you to upload that. It kind of highlights the locations. Question about how the projects are, you know, the trees are going to be protected and maintained in the future. Then we have that award budget question, kind of again talking about those couple of criteria that we will pay for. We have, you know, we put together a budget document. You can upload it here optionally. It could be like that similar one that we uploaded, that kind of template for you. How much funding? Then we also have this point, we like to get information about the census block that people are applying for. So we have a link to the Tree Equity Score Analyzer website, and we ask punch in your address, then return the score, you know, in the application here. You know, they have a lot of different criteria: environmental justice, tree canopy, historic aspects, and that sort of thing. And they've summarized the equity score on their website on this analyzer tool. It's a really great tool, really insightful. And so we want you to submit that equity score so we kind of have an idea of a lot of different parameters, how they've been distilled down for this analyzer. So we ask you to navigate to the website, punch in the address, and provide that number to us. Similarly, you know, talking about equity and that sort of thing in underserved communities, we have this underserved area kind of question. Again, we have a bunch of different criteria we mentioned here, but that isn't all of them. So we ask that you select ones if they're on here, you're unsure, or if you have others you know of, and you can put them there. And then if you have any letters of support, if you have any, you know, organizations, let's say you're a group of landowners, and you have a neighborhood association, they're not the ones applying, but you get a letter of support from them, or like a organization that's nearby, that kind of thing, you can upload that there too. So that's the application. Any questions on that specifically before we move to kind of general questions?
For areas with multiple census blocks, how should we calculate the tree equity score?
That's a great question. So if you would, for that, just go ahead and input the all the scores of the various ones. That'll kind of give us an idea of the, if you have it overlapping 2 or 3 census blocks for your project area, go ahead and put all 3 of those down. That'll give us an idea, and we can also take a look at it ourselves and understand it a little bit more. So thank you for that great question. I'll put a clarification on the website for that probably. All right.
Can I go back to the PowerPoint?
Yeah, if you would, please go back to that. I think it's just that final slide. You can go ahead and leave that one up. go jump up to that one real quick. Yeah. So any questions on the tree assistance program? Be happy to answer them here. Like I said, Rosalie, if you have anything you'd like to say, more than welcome to jump in here too. I don't want to put you on the spot though. Okay, question in the chat.
I appreciate it, Henry. Thanks. If there's anything that I can answer too, definitely, feel free to call on me. I'm listening.
Sounds good. Thank you. Are fruit trees eligible? I trying to think of what fruit trees that might count as native. So I think there might be some wild plum species. The fruit trees elude me a little bit. Some of the cherries are fruiting trees that you could do. Pawpaw, I think probably.
Yeah, persimmon comes to mind.
Persimmon's
too,
another one. Good
Henry.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
So as long
I think
as
we'd
they're
be open to it.
okay, cool. Thanks.
And then, what kind of maintenance costs will you consider?
That's a good question. So, initially our thought I think was kind of like mulch and that sort of thing, or gator bags or other sort of watering tools, that kind of thing, stakes. Rosalie, is there anything that you were thinking going forward with the maintenance costs? What might also might be covered?
I think that sounds right, Henry. Yeah, like you said, mulch too. It would be good to probably reapply. For the first couple of years as well.
Right. Right.
I think you've got it covered.
Okay.
And then is it up to us, select vendor nursery, or do you have wholesale qualified suppliers?
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so we don't have any specific wholesale qualified suppliers just because the number of trees we're dealing with here likely isn't going to qualify us for wholesale, unfortunately. So there is a number of vendors that are around that provide plenty of native trees in the central Ohio area. And so we'll rely on the applicant to sort of factor that in, maybe get some quotes, that sort of thing as part of your planting plan and budgeting to help out, but we don't have a specific vendor or entity for that. Good question.
We have issues with flooding at our site, but I'm not sure which solutions would be most effective / what to apply for. Would someone on your team consult and help us develop a plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So we could definitely hash that out with you a little bit. If your email's in the chat, we can go ahead and make a note about that, and I can reach out from one of our conservation implementation team. We can kind of talk through it. A lot of times we deal with drainage stuff all the time, so we can definitely talk to you about some assistance with that and how best to address it with some of our programs. All right. Well, if that's all the chat questions and all that stuff, go ahead to the next slide there. Yeah, we're here to help. We are enthusiastic staff. We love doing what we do. We'd love to award everyone, and we are increasing our funding awards pretty much year on year and making new opportunities available, but not everyone's going to be able to. These are competitively awarded grants and award programs. But like I said, we can help you out with technical assistance generally, regardless of if you get awarded or not. So if you have questions about your site or those sorts of things, we're here to help you with those things. We really want that the applicants, we want them to walk away with a positive experience, even if it's not necessarily funding. It could be that good planting plan. It could be insight from us, more resources we connect you with, other alternative funding. We're really wanting to help, in any way we can to these groups that are conservation minded, groups that are trying to get stuff done in the county and in the city and help keep pushing that needle forward. We really appreciate that. And we're excited to be talking to so many enthusiastic applicants. Like I said, you can use this as a resource to help hone your project and applications. Reach out to us, and we that service we're offering to everyone. We can help you with specific questions, help you dial stuff in, help you make those connections or resources that you need to improve. Yeah.
Can the city require that all planted trees have tree collar guards installed with new trees?
Smoke protectors.
We don't have that spelled out. That might be a great thing to put in for the maintenance requirements. But we don't have that required as such, but that could be something that could be built into the maintenance costs and applied for. Um, you know, those are great in a lot of instances, particularly, you know, in places that have deer activity or beaver activity, that kind of thing. But in some locations, it may not be the best. And, you know, depending on the type you get, the cost could be taking you away from trees. So it is kind of up in the air there, but I don't think that we have a specific requirement for them, right, Rosalie? Oh, maybe.
Sorry, Henry.
Oh, you're
I was
good.
trying to unmute. Yeah, that's right. I know, I appreciate that question from David because, you know, I know we have such challenges in the Allen
Yep.
Creek, well, watershed. I mean, so many of our parks have that issue and it can help with protecting the mower too, as well as the deer, like you said. Yeah, this is our first year. I know you've said that, Henry, but I just want to reiterate, you know, it is our first year doing this. So I think we're trying to be open to what is proposed and then go from there. I mean, I think part of this will be wanting to see what's successful, you know, what works well. So I don't know that we'll go in requiring mower guards for every single tree in all of these plantings. But if that is something that seems to help these projects become more successful, it could be a requirement in future years.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much all I have prepared for you for this evening. I appreciate everyone tuning in and everyone's patience as we navigate the complicated process of Zoom. And so if there's any just kind of final last call on any of the programs, if you want to have questions about that, if you have a question later on, shoot me an email or give us a phone call. Jump back to the previous slide. We can pull that up, and that way if anyone wants to write down info. Michaela's information was previously in the PowerPoint. That PowerPoint will be going out to everyone so they can look through it at their leisure. So yeah, please don't be afraid to reach out to us, call. That's what we're here for, and we want to help everyone out as best we can.